I'm not saying this to start drama. I genuinely want to know why men have stopped cold approaching. I asked a man recently, hey, you have your life together. You're an attractive guy, got the dimples, glasses, like you're a catch. Why aren't you going up to women?
Stare a hole through you all night. They will not approach you, not once, but they'll stare you down.
Okay, fellas. Apparently, they're looking for you now. Because the New York Times ran a piece with the title that they caught my attention. Where have men gone? And when I saw it, I thought, wait, men already told us. Guys said they were tired of approaching, tired of dating apps. Some started questioning marriage, and some looked at the whole dating situation and basically said, you know what? I'm good. And for a long time, people just brushed that off. A man says he's done dating, he's bitter. He stops approaching, he's scared. He questions marriage, he has commitment issues. He says he likes being single, he just can't get a woman. But now the New York Times is asking, where have the men gone? And fellas, apparently your absence got louder than your complaints. Maybe people heard what men were saying. They just assumed men would keep showing up anyway. That's what makes this different.
Is it just me or do men not approach women anymore? I hate dating apps. I do not want to get back on one. I'd like to meet someone IRL, in real life, in the wild. But this seems hard as hell because if you're someone who doesn't go out to bars, it seems like at bars, it's socially acceptable for like people to approach each other. But everywhere else, like, in a coffee shop or like in a restaurant or on the street, it seems like it's not like the norm anymore.
Men didn't disappear. They're working. They're going to the gym. They're seeing friends. They're building businesses. They're living. They just aren't showing up in ways that people expected them to. I already know what some of you are thinking. Remi, we told y'all. You did, you did, you did. When men said they were done approaching, a lot of them weren't saying, I hate women. They weren't even saying, I can't get a woman. They were simply saying something much more important. I don't think this is worth it anymore. And that is a big difference. A man who wants something and can't get it may keep trying, but what do you do with a man who looks at the whole situation and says, no, I'm good? You can't insult him back into dating. You can't shame him into approaching. You can't tell him a real man would keep chasing. He has to actually want to participate.
It feels like we've gone so far in the other direction where everyone kind of operates completely independently. They look down, like they pass someone, they don't even really say hi. They're looking at their phones. Like they'll be like, oh, that person's cute, but they won't do anything about it. And this makes it really hard. I think when you're single, when you even just want to make friends, you want to connect with new people because everyone is just absorbed in their own world. Like, is everyone lonely? Like, is everyone, I don't know. It's just, I don't like this.
People assume he always would. People assume men might complain or delete the apps for a while, but eventually they'd come back. Except some men didn't. They stopped arguing. They stopped explaining and quietly put that energy somewhere else. And then something happened that I don't think anybody planned for. And when I say men are done, I'm not talking about some men sitting at home angry at every woman on earth. Honestly, that guy is still pretty invested. I'm talking about the man who isn't angry. He sees an attractive woman and keeps walking. His friends tell him to download the apps again. No, I'm good. He's not protesting or trying to teach women a lesson. He just stops organizing his life around finding one. That is harder to deal with because anger still wants somebody to listen. And difference doesn't need an audience. Some men stepped back and discovered something. Peace. Ladies, understand that part because sometimes you're not competing with another woman anymore. You're competing with no woman at all. Believe it or not, that can be harder. Think about the man who has been single for a while. He wakes up Saturday when he wants. He goes to the gym. He sees his friends. He works on whatever he's building. He spends his money how he wants. Nobody is giving him mixed signals. Nobody left him on red and texted, "Hey stranger," 3 days later. Nobody has him wondering, "Are we good?" To him, that might feel peaceful. And once he gets used to that, a relationship has to offer something he values more than the life he already has. Women should understand this better than anybody because we've been saying this for years. I don't need a man. If a man comes into my life, he needs to add to it. Okay? Now imagine a man saying the same thing about us. It hits a little different, doesn't it? But he's allowed to. If a woman can ask, "Does this man make my life better?" a man can ask the same thing. Does he feel respected? Does he feel appreciated? Can he relax around her? Can he trust her? Does she actually like him? Or mostly, what he can do for her? And the biggest question is my life better with her in it? That's not anti-woman. I tell a woman to ask herself the same thing. And approaching is where a lot of men first started making this calculation.
Any kind of way you come up to a woman or approach a woman or try to talk to a woman seems like it's wrong. If you talk to a girl, we done seen it like all over the internet. Every app you can think of, a woman has had an issue with every kind of way a man has approached them. We've seen women have an issue with men talking to them in the club, talking to them in the bar, talking to them on the street, talking to them in the grocery store, talking to them in the gym, talking to them like while you're in your car. Like we've seen women everywhere say they had an issue with how men approach them in every kind of way.
Because women have been saying, "Don't bother me at the gym. Don't assume a smile means I'm interested. Don't mistake friendliness for flirting." And I understand that. Women should be able to exist in public without a guy refusing to take a hint. A woman has every right to say no. But there is another side. You can't teach someone to be extremely careful about crossing a line and then be shocked when he starts standing further and further away from the line. Some guys heard, "Don't assume, don't bother her, don't misread friendliness." And instead of becoming perfect mind readers, they say, "You know what? I'm just going to leave her alone." Then women go, "But I smiled at him." Girl, you spent years telling this man a smile doesn't necessarily mean anything. He believed you because you know when you want him to approach. He doesn't. You looked at him 3 times. You smiled. In your head, you're basically screaming, "Come talk to me." Meanwhile, this man is wondering if he remembered to move his laundry. And both of you go home. Girl, he had no idea. Social media made all this even stranger. Men have been rejected forever. Rejection isn't new. But now, some men aren't only thinking, "What if she says no?" They're thinking, "What if I read this wrong? What if she thinks I'm creepy? What if someone starts recording? What if I become content?" Now, let me be fair. Most women are not secretly waiting to embarrass some random man who says hello. That's not real life. But social media doesn't show normal life. Normal is boring. Respectful guy says hello. She's not interested. He moves on. But nobody posts that. But embarrassment and horrible dates? Millions of views. And after watching enough of it, both sides start thinking that that's normal. Men think women are waiting to embarrass them. Women think every man who approaches has bad intentions. So now 2 normal people who might actually like each other are standing 6 feet apart, both staring at their phones. Then they go home complaining, "Dating is impossible." You almost have to laugh. Some women do miss being approached, not harassed, not followed. I mean, normal flirting. But if men are becoming more cautious about making that first move, women might have to become more clear. And I already heard somebody, "Oh, I'm not approaching a man." Okay. Then that man might go home. I'm just telling you, we can't spend years telling men, don't assume I'm interested, and then be upset when they stop assuming we're interested. Maybe you say hello first. Maybe you give him a compliment. Maybe you make it obvious enough that he doesn't need a detective and 3 witnesses to figure out whether you're flirting or not. You're saying hi, you'll survive.
It has come to my understanding that there's an epidemic of women who are calling out men and saying that they don't approach women in public anymore, and they don't understand why. And they want more men to approach them in public.
And fellas, don't get too comfortable because I have something for you too. Protecting your peace is healthy. Turning your peace into a prison is something else. Some of you have become so suspicious that a woman smiles at you and you're like, nope, nice try. Sir, she said good morning. Relax, relax, relax. There are good women out here who respect men and want partnership. Don't let the loudest woman online become your definition of women. Women do the same exact thing with men. And yes, you're allowed to decide something isn't worth the cost to you. That doesn't automatically make you weak. It doesn't make you bitter either. Women are encouraged to protect their peace, raise their standards, and leave situations that don't serve them. Men get to do that too. But if you still want love and you're pretending that you don't because wanting it means you can get hurt, that's different. You can protect your peace without deciding nobody will ever be allowed into it. And then we get to marriage. This is where the conversation becomes much bigger than walking across a room and asking for her number. Approaching is one moment of risk. Marriage is a man thinking 20 or 30 years into the future. So when a man says he's nervous about marriage, my first thought isn't, oh, he's afraid of commitment. I want to know why. Did he watch his parents go through a terrible divorce? Did he watch his friend go through one? Is he worried about money? Is he worried about what could happen with his children? Is he afraid that he'll spend years building a family and still lose the life he thought he'd had forever? Those fears don't automatically mean every conclusion he reaches is right. But laughing at him isn't going to make the fear disappear. If women want men to understand why women need security before choosing a man, then we also have to understand why some men want security before choosing marriage. Security can't only matter when we're only talking about women. That doesn't mean marriage is bad. There are men in beautiful marriages who love being husbands and fathers. But if another man looks at marriage and says, I don't know, why not actually ask him why? Because sometimes I think we ask men how they feel just so we can correct the answer. I like being single. No, you don't. You're lonely. I don't approach anymore. Oh, you're scared. Marriage makes me nervous. Commitment issues. Dating doesn't feel worth it anymore. Oh, you're bitter. Girl, why did we ask him? Maybe some men are lonely or bitter, but maybe some of them mean exactly what they say. And men don't always make some huge announcement when they're done. Sometimes they just adjust. A man doesn't hold a press conference. Ladies and gentlemen, effective immediately, I am retiring from dating. He just deletes the app. He builds his life. He works. He gets in shape. He sees his friends. Find some hobby that somehow requires $3,000 worth of equipment. I don't know why every hobby you guys find needs equipment, but okay. And eventually he looks around and thinks, you know what? I'm actually fine. That's the guy people should pay attention to because he doesn't need you to agree anymore. He has already adjusted. And that brings me to the question people keep getting wrong. How do we get men back? Back on the apps, back approaching, back dating. But maybe that's the wrong question because men don't owe anybody their participation just like women don't owe men relationships. So maybe the question isn't, how do we get men back? Maybe it's what would make men want to come back? And those are two completely different conversations. One tells men what they should want. The other one actually listens. And I don't want this to become, see, women, you did this. That's too easy. Women are frustrated too. Women, they're tired of ghosting, dating apps, and people who won't commit too. So if men are exhausted and women are exhausted, maybe sitting online arguing about which gender ruined dating isn't getting us anywhere. Maybe everybody has become so busy protecting themselves that nobody knows how to connect anymore. She doesn't want to look too interested. He doesn't want to look thirsty either. She waits. He waits longer. Meanwhile, both of them like each other. Can everybody just be normal? You like her. Tell her. You like him? Tell him. He asks you out respectfully and you're not interested. Say no respectfully. She says no. Take the no and move on. Because I don't think most people want a gender war. Most people want somebody they trust, somebody they can laugh with, somebody that feels like home. But relationships have another competitor now, being alone. And if being alone feels more peaceful than being together, why would somebody choose together? That's the part we need to fix. Not by forcing men back into dating, not by telling women to lower every standards, by making relationships feel like something worth choosing again. And that's why I keep coming back to that New York Times headline. Where have men gone? We're right here. Exactly. Maybe we're just asking the wrong question. The bigger question is, do they still want what everybody assumed men would always want? Everybody assumed men would always approach, always chase, eventually want marriage, eventually come back. Maybe that's why their complaints were so easy to dismiss. Turns out, some of them, they just went home. They built a life, they found some peace, and stopped feeling like they needed permission to enjoy it. That doesn't mean they'll stay single forever. No. The right woman can come along tomorrow and change everything. But the difference is, he doesn't feel like he has to, and that changes everything. So fellas, I want to hear it from you. Are you just taking a break from dating, or are you actually done? Did you stop approaching? Did you delete the app, change your mind about marriage? And if you did, what was the moment when you finally said, yeah, I'm good? But here's a question I want answered. What would have to change for you to genuinely want to come back? More respect, clearer interest, more effort from both people, different expectations, or are you genuinely happier where you are? And ladies, have you noticed men approaching less? Would you approach a man yourself if you really liked him? Maybe the next version of dating is both people meeting each other halfway. Maybe men didn't disappear. Maybe they just stopped volunteering for a role everybody assumed that they would keep playing forever. Men complained. People dismissed it. Then some men stopped explaining. They got quiet. They adjusted, and apparently, absence got louder than their complaints ever did. Now, the New York Times is asking where they went. Apparently, they finally noticed. The question is, did they notice too late? It's been your girl, Remi Rene. I'll see you guys in my next video.